Oh, I also have a box right here next to me so I can just throw them in and take them to Goodwill. Hi, welcome back. I just did a huge book haul, so it felt right to follow that up with a huge book unhaul. I have a lot of books to get rid of. I have been in the mood this week to just get rid of a bunch of stuff, and I have a lot of books that I picked off my shelves that I have either read and know I'm never going to reread or absolutely hated, or books that I just know I'm never going to read. They've been sitting on my shelves for far too long, or I've shown them in try a chapter videos, or I've even told you I was unhauling them before and still haven't. So I have a huge selection and I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start off with a few books that I've actually DNF'd this year, starting with The Bone Witch by Ren Chapeko. I tried to read this during the reading rush and just hated it a lot. I was listening to the audiobook and I was so bored, and I know that it is not a case of like the audiobook sucked, because I was not bored of the audiobook, I was bored of the content. So I'm getting rid of this one. And it's sad because this is like one of the most beautiful covers ever, and I really wanted to love it, but I didn't. Next up, I think actually I DNF'd this one last year, but I'm showing it now. The Power by Naomi Alderman. I tried to read this and I hated it. I hated the writing style. I was so bored with the story. I was like 150 pages in and literally nothing had happened, and so I'm getting rid of it. And I'm sad about this one because I like paid full price for this. I pre-ordered it and got it when it came out, and I just, yeah, hated it. I hated it so much. And also Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff, which was actually on my 2019 TBR, my 5-star predictions. I tried to read this back in March or April, and I think I got like halfway through and I was just like, why am I reading this? It sucks. So I'm unhauling this one as well. Next up, I have a few books that I've read and either absolutely hated, thought were pretty mediocre, or just no, I'm never going to reread. And the first of those is Dusk or Dark or Dawn or Day by Shauna McGuire. I think I read this last year and I liked it. It was fine, but I know I'm never going to reread it, so I'm going to unhaul it. Same with Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson, which I read earlier this year and I really liked it. I mean, it was entertaining, but again, I know I'm never going to reread it, so I'm not going to hold on to it. My absolute least favorite book of the year, a book that, oh my God, it was so awful, was No Exit by Taylor Adams. I feel like I'm the minority here because I gave this book 1 star. I hated everything about it, but everybody on BookTube seems to be loving it, so I'm definitely an outlier. But yeah, I absolutely hated this book. It was so bad, and I'm unhauling it. I'm also not going to be doing a least favorites of the year video this year because I'm just not interested in that negativity, she says, as she does a book unhaul. But one of the books that would definitely be on my least favorites of the year, along with No Exit, is How to Walk Away by Catherine Center, an adult contemporary romance that I had super high expectations for. I really thought it was going to be kind of like a Taylor Jenkins Reid novel, and it was not at all. I thought the characters were awful. I thought the story was weird. I felt like there was a lot of like questionable morality stuff going on in here, and I didn't like it, so I'm getting rid of it. And then I have 2 mystery thrillers that I read and enjoyed, but don't think I'm ever going to reread just because I don't tend to reread mystery thrillers. I have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This was the very first Ruth Ware book that I ever read, and I liked it, but it's nowhere near as good as The Turn of the Key, which I read this year, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And The Perfect Mother by Amy Malloy, which I think I read last year, and I liked it. I definitely liked this. It was an interesting and totally gripping mystery, but again, I just don't think I'm ever gonna reread it because why would I reread it if I already know the twist? And then I also have a few books here that I've talked about in my try a chapter tags, my unhaul try a chapter tags, and I am just going to show them here in this unhaul because why not? I have The Most Dangerous Place on Earth by Lindsay Lee Johnson, which is I think like a YA mystery that I think I read maybe in my second installment of Try a Chapter, and I didn't care about it at all, so I'm getting rid of that. I also have Smoke by Dan Valletta, which I am honestly a little bit sad about because this is a beautiful cover, and I was really excited to read this book. I thought I was gonna like it, and I read the first chapter and just was a little bit bored, so I'm getting rid of that. I don't have time in my life for books that are mostly mediocre. And I also have The Art of Sleeping Alone by Sophie Fontenelle, which is a nonfiction. It's a memoir all about a woman who gave up sex for a year or something. And again, I started this, but didn't care about it at all, so I'm getting rid of that. Oh, I have one more book of the month book here that I think I also actually started reading and then just hated, and that's The Age of Light by Whitney Scherer. I was excited about this because it is historical fiction. It's about a woman who was a famous photographer in, I think, like the 40s, and she gets involved with another famous photographer, and there's something about World War II. Turns out that this is actually based on a real person, and I didn't like the idea of that. It's like a fictionalized version of this real person's life, and there's something about that just is a little bit, I don't know, weird to me, so I'm getting rid of that. I did try to read it, but I wasn't interested at all. I have Wonder Woman, Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. I'm sad about getting rid of this because Leigh Bardugo is my queen and I love all of her books, but I have tried to read this like 3 or 4 times this year and just can't get past the first couple of chapters, so I'm gonna pass this along to someone who I think will enjoy it more, and by that I mean I'm gonna take it to Goodwill and hopefully somebody will buy it at some point and like it much more than I did. Another book that I'm kind of sad to get rid of because the cover is absolutely beautiful is The Children's Crusade by Ann Packer. I've had this book for a while and I've just never felt the desire or inclination to pick it up. I have never heard anybody talk about this and I just don't care that much about it anymore. I've had it for years and just don't think I'm ever gonna pick it up, so I'm getting rid of it. Another YA book that I'm a little bit sad to get rid of, but I did try to read this one this year as well and just didn't jive with it at all, is A Madness So Discreet by Minnie McGinnis. I love Minnie McGinnis's writing style. I have really enjoyed the one book I've read by her, The Female of the Species, but this book is historical fiction and I tried to listen to the audiobook and I didn't feel anything for any of the characters, so I'm gonna get rid of it. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of sad and maybe I would like it if I gave it more of a chance, but I don't have time to try to push through books that I'm not enjoying in the first like 50 pages, so I'm unhauling that one. Another one that I was pretty sure I unhauled like years ago and saw it sitting on my shelf the other night and was like, yeah, I think it's time for that to go, is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This is a very controversial adult romance that, I don't know, I've tried to read a couple times. I have not ever really been able to get into. I think that if I do want to consume this story, I could probably just watch the movie. But again, like I said, it's like kind of controversial and I don't know that I'm interested in it anymore. So I'm getting rid of that. And the last book I have here is another book that pains me a little bit to get rid of, but I honestly should have gotten rid of it last year because it was on my read it or unhaul it list that I did last year, and I gave myself a couple extra months in 2019 to read it and I still didn't ever read it, so I'm gonna finally unhaul it, and that is Z, A Novel of Zelda Fitzgerald by Therese Ann Fowler. This is like a fictionalized version of Zelda Fitzgerald's life, which we've already established I think is a little bit weird to write fictionalized versions of real people, so I'm gonna finally just pass this on, get rid of it, and I feel like I'll be better off for it. So that is my giant end of the year book unhaul. I feel like there's probably another box full of books on my shelves that I could get rid of, but you know, it's hard. You have to do it in stages. I feel like even though I'm in the mood, I've been in the mood to just like kind of declutter my life and get rid of books that I don't think I'm gonna like, it's hard to just take them off your shelves and not even give them a little bit of a chance, because what if they end up being a new favorite of all time? So I'm slowly but surely culling my shelves. I'm slowly getting rid of books that have been sitting there unread for far too long, and this probably won't be the last unhaul. I'll probably do another one soon, probably in the new year. But for now, I feel like I've gotten a pretty good stack of books here to get rid of, and I feel lighter somehow. So yeah, that's all I have for this video. Let me know down in the comments how you feel about unhauling. How often do you unhaul? What are some books that you've unhauled recently? I would be very curious to know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!